Hey everybody, I'm so glad that you chose to participate in the Christmas arrangement party this year. Looks a little bit different, but I initially thought about maybe canceling and doing this at a different time, but this is just something fun that you can do with your family or maybe one friend or something like that. You can hang out and just enjoy doing a craft because we all need something fun to do right now. So enjoy this. Merry Christmas. I hope that you are enjoying your home this holiday season. And this is Reba. She is the florist that does this with me every year. She's amazing. She has such great things with her this year to help us make our centerpieces. So I'm super excited to see how they turn out. And if you would be so kind as to maybe post it on Instagram or Facebook when you're done, or just even send me a photo of it, whatever you end up with, that would be super fun. So I'd love to see how everybody's turns out. So thanks again for participating. Merry Christmas.
Perfect. Welcome. Okay, we'll get started. You've got all your product in front of you that Liz has dropped off and delivered, and I've got it here. We'll walk through it step by step. So you should have this container. It's a nice wood box with a liner in it, and it's been filled with Oasis. And you'll want to make sure that the Oasis has been soaked. This is a foam that we use in the flower shop. Oops. And it cuts down to size. So it's a light green when it hasn't been soaked, and then it turns a darker green when it is soaked in the water. So your container has been filled with the Oasis. You'll just want to soak it. And then we're going to start with the birch branches. So you each have some birch branches to work with, and we'll be using a few of them to just lay across the bottom of our container. And this is kind of a fun technique to give it a different look. So we're not inserting any of these into the foam right now. We're just laying them across and just kind of choosing different styles. So it'll be kind of a horizontal extension on the container, and I'm just laying them there. And we won't use all of them this way. I'm doing 2 to the left and 2 to the right, and we're just laying them there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this noble fir. We'll cut this down to size. I have a bunch cutter here. You know, if you use something that you have in the garden or something like that. We're gonna trim this down to smaller pieces like this. So it comes in a nice full stem, and we're just gonna trim it down to the size that we'll use. And as you cut it, you'll start to smell that Christmas greens smell, like a fresh Christmas tree. So I'm gonna cut each one down like this. And then when I get to a larger piece like this, I think I'll leave that for just now. So we're gonna make sure those birch branches kind of lay there up to this each side, and then we're gonna insert the stems. I like to pull off some of these bottom needles, and these stems are gonna go right into the Oasis. So we're gonna insert that into the Oasis just like that, and these will kind of lock the birch branches in, the ones that we laid down. So and this is gonna be an all the way around container. It's gonna be greened all the way around so you can view it from all sides. So I'm doing 1 in each corner right now. Okay, like this, kind of pulling those bottom needles off into that corner. And then I'm gonna trim this one kind of in half, and I'm gonna put it right in the middle. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm gonna go just to mirror that 6 there. And we have a little bit left of this here, so I'm gonna trim that. And we'll go in the front, and then we'll also go in the back here. And your hands will get maybe a little sticky. If you want to wear gloves while you do this, that's maybe a good idea too, but your hands will just get a little sticky. Okay, so we did front and back, and I've got a little piece here that I'll insert. And see how we're just kind of going all the way around the container, so it's all the same on every side. Now I'm going to pick up the flat cedar. This is a really nice draping greenery, and it cuts really easily. So we're going to do the same concept with the flat cedar. We're just going to trim it down into smaller pieces that it's naturally that way. Okay. Trim it down to size to fit our container. And these greens that we're using, these are winter greens, and they can be used, they can be placed outside if you want to put this container outside. They'll last all winter long. Or if you want to keep it indoors as a centerpiece, you'll just want to keep it watered throughout the season. So it's kind of a versatile arrangement that we're making. So I did one on the left, one on the right, and then I'm going to go to the front and to the back here. We're just kind of inserting these in and covering up the oasis. We're going to make sure that we don't see any of that oasis by the time we're done, okay? Okay, so we're just filling in with the flat cedar, and we're just inserting these to cover up that oasis, okay? And clip them down, and see how it gives like a nice, it's a different color green than this fir as well. The cedar has a different lay to it and a different color. So it's good to have a variety of textures in there, and you can go underneath and insert it into the oasis and drape it down to the table too. It's fine if it touches the table on the centerpiece there. You just want to make sure you have the stem to stick right into that oasis, okay? So there's one stem of the cedar. And see how our birch branches that we initially stuck in there, they're just kind of starting to tighten up in there because we're putting things around them. The next green that I'm going to use is white pine. It's kind of a little bit, just a totally different look to it. It's got a little bit spiky look to it, but it's not pokey at all. It's pretty soft. You'll notice with this one, if you keep it indoors, it does wick water. So this container has the water source in it, and you'll notice it will wick the water out and kind of bead at the end of it. So just be aware of that. But if you set it outside, it'll just kind of freeze this way, and it'll last all winter long. So I'm trimming this down to little pieces again, and just kind of putting it throughout the oasis. Some stems will be longer than others, and you can just kind of pull off any of the needles to give yourself a little bit of a stem to insert into it. And we're going all the way around. Okay. You're kind of getting a feel for how this is going to look now, putting it together, and then we get to add a lot of different things as we keep going. Okay, and you can stand back from it and kind of view it, turn it around if you want to make sure it's all kind of looking the way you want to. I'm just putting the pine in right now in little bits.
I just have one question. Can I ask you
Yeah.
something?
Yes.
So I bought a bunch of greens from, just Roseboro. Like I went and bought
Yep.
a bunch of greens for my pots outside.
Yes.
And I just don't know, like when I get them home, what's the best thing to do? Because they've been in my garage, but should I cut them and then put them in water?
Yes. Yep. So if you get them from a location like a garden center, a greenhouse, they've been sitting outside, that's fine because they've been harvested. But when you get them home and you want to start working with them, just give them a fresh cut with something like this, like a bunch cutter at the bottom, and cutting that off. This part has kind of sealed up the moisture, but when you give it a fresh cut, this will start pulling up any of the water that you put it in, so it'll last longer if you give it a fresh cut and put it in a source that has water. And even if you're going to be putting it outside where it'll freeze, giving it that fresh initial cut will freshen it up. Give it one more drink of water before it freezes again.
It lasts.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so that's the white pine, and we can always come back to add in more of any of the greeneries. You'll have plenty to work with, but we've got all three in there now with the birch branches. So we're gonna go on to the parvifolia eucalyptus. This is another nice greenery. It's got kind of a different color to it. These are kind of all different colors, and this is like a grayish green, and it has a nice drape to it and a nice fragrance. So I'm going to start at the top of this one, and I'm going to trim it from the top, and I'm going to use this really nice top middle piece to go in the middle, okay? And I'm going to keep, I'm not going to cut each stem off because these are a little bit more, a little bit smaller. So I'm going to keep a few of the stems together on one main stem that I can insert. So I did one in the middle, and I'll do one over to the side here, and then this one here. I just kind of clean off any bottom leaves, and I'm going to do one off to the side over here. Kind of gives it an elongated look. Okay, and then we also have the spiral eucalyptus. This one is nice and fragrant as well. I'm going to trim it here, and this one I'm going to put right up over in the corner, and then I'm going to mirror that on the other side over here, so that when you're looking at it, it kind of has a balance to it when your eye is drawn into it. So this one is there. I'm going to go kind of opposite over here to kind of draw your eye both that way with the eucalyptus. And then I have a couple leftover little pieces that I'm going to trim a little bit smaller, kind of tuck down in there to cover the oasis, and that draws your eye in as well. It's kind of okay to have a few of them just lower. It adds another dimension to it. So we're just covering up the oasis. We don't want to see any of that oasis by the time that we're done, which won't be a problem because we have a lot of different things to be putting in there. Okay, this one is definitely a sticky green. You'll kind of feel that when you're done working with it. The eucalyptus is a little bit sticky. Okay, so something like this that came from that first green, you probably won't be using, so you can totally set that one aside. And then we'll go on. We have another eucalyptus. There's a lot of different types of eucalyptus. This is the silver dollar eucalyptus. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful branch? Okay, so this one is probably long enough to cut into thirds. So I'll do one there, and some of the leaves might be a little bent up. That's okay, just take those off. And these are kind of designer's choice. Wherever you kind of like these big silver dollars to look, you can place them. They're kind of just an accent feature. A lot of your oasis is covered up by now. So we're just having fun with this stem. Okay, I'm gonna trim this top stem because it's not holding any leaves. These are just fun, really neat accents. Okay, so we've got our eucalyptus in there, all three different kinds. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put the red berries in. You've got the red berry stems, and these are artificial, and you can just kind of choose where you like these to be. You can even trim them to be separate if you want, but I'm gonna put one over here on the left and just give it a good insert into the foam. And they do kind of bend. You can manipulate them a little bit throughout. And then I'm gonna put one to mirror it. If you're a person who likes things to be asymmetrical, this is where you can have a little bit of fun, and you can put the weight of the color on one side and create like a focal point if you want, because we're gonna be using the pine cones. But I'm gonna do this one so that it's just kind of all the way around and mirrored. But if you wanna have a little bit of fun and change it up, you're more than welcome to. So this one is gonna go right over here on the side, and these are berries that can be put outside during the winter as well, so these will be fine. Okay, and then I've got one to put in the middle here, and one off to the back here, okay? And I say the back, but it's really the same on each side, all the way around. Okay, so we've got those artificial red berries in there, and then I'm gonna use the white glitter accents to put in there, and these are just to have fun with as well. And I put those off to that front right, and then off to the back left for these to give it a little bit of crystal ice look, kind of a fun look there. Okay, so we've got two of those in, and then I'm going to put one up here and have it going up. Kind of gives it a fun sparkle, you know. The different textures that we use just really makes it unique and different than just all greens, okay? So we've got that accent in there. Then we have these beautiful red magnolia leaves. These are artificial, kind of a fun look, and these you can manipulate as well to kind of go whichever direction you want them to. But I'm gonna tuck these in pretty tight to the center because they're a bright, deep red that are really gonna catch the eye. So I'm gonna put them kind of towards the center of my piece so that they draw my eye right in the middle. And then I'm gonna put one off to the back side of it. Okay, so isn't that fun? I really like those red magnolia leaves, okay? And I'm gonna kind of position them around so they have a little bit of a movement to them, so they're not just flat, okay? They look a little more natural when you do that. And we have our pepperberry, which is one of Liz's favorite plants.
Yes, it is.
So we've got this pepperberry, and when you cut it, you'll start to smell it a little bit. But just trim this one down. It's such a fun greenery. It's nice and delicate, and you just put it in and it does its own thing. You don't really even have to worry about where you put it because it's just kind of a wild, fun look. So go ahead and use up all your pepperberry and place it throughout your bouquet. It's just awesome. It's so fun. And this is the season where it's in season, and it'll last a nice long time. You just want to give it a fresh cut before you put it into the foam, especially if you're going to use this as a centerpiece in your house for like a month or so and then put it outside. Giving it that fresh cut will make sure that it can draw water up, okay? So we're using that pepperberry to go all throughout. Gives it such a fun, natural garden look, okay? I'm just trimming that. I'll put some down here, okay? And then we have this beautiful stem of silver bells, and we're gonna put that right in the center. You can adjust the stem by just even bending it and hooking it into the greens. So I'm gonna insert this part right here into the center. Okay, and just kind of move those around so that I put them right in between the red magnolia leaves. Okay, and we'll just draw the greeneries around it. Okay, and then we have pine cones to work with. These are a natural pine cone. I'm going to put one right down there, one over here. We've got 3 of these to work with, and they've already got picks on the bottom, which is nice and handy. And if you really, want to get creative, or you have craft stuff at home, you can always spray these silver or gold, and you can drop glitter on them, or you can snow spray them, whatever you want with these. But they're fun to use natural too. So I'm going to tuck that one in the back. Okay. And then we have this beautiful buffalo plaid ribbon that's been made into little ribbon tucks. It's not a full bow, but they're 2 little ribbon tucks. If you want to put them together, it'll be like a bow, and you can insert them into the foam that way, or it gives you the option to kind of separate them, put one on this side and one on the other side, which is how we're going to do it for the video, but feel free to pair them up if you want them to look like a traditional bow. So this one's going to go over here, the buffalo plaid, and I'm going to draw the tails out like this, and I'm going to put the little loop on the inside. So I'm just going to drape those around, and then I'm going to put the other one right in front over here. And I feel like all of yours are really starting to look awesome. I can't wait to see pictures of them because all the pieces are kind of coming together now. So we've got the buffalo plaid draping out on the bouquet, okay? And then you'll probably have a little bit of the birch branches left over, and any of the product that you have left over at this point, you just kind of stand back, look around at your bouquet, see if there's anything that you just want to adjust or add to. So you can add some more birch branches, because ours right now, you can hardly, they're there to give it a texture and a horizontal look. But if you want them more visible, you can add some to come up into your bouquet. Okay, so We're adding some of these branches that you'll have left over. They're a nice natural look to come up here that way. Okay. And it's really coming together. And they add some height too. If you really want to get a little more height, you can add them to the height that you need. And if you have, you know, craft items at home, you can always add like a little silver ball here, things of that nature. But that's kind of fun. So you've made a winter greens container box, and with all the supplies that Liz dropped off for you. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure they're beautiful. I can't wait to see more pictures of them and see how they all turn out. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Riva.